Good evening. I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show, asking the question of the moment with all the bad news pouring into Washington. Is there a Jonah in Washington, D.C.? A Jonah. You all recall the story of Jonah and the whale. A Jonah is, to superstitious sailors, and they're wise to be when you go on the wide sea, a Jonah is something that's weighing you down, usually a member of the crew or something that's happened that causes all these errors, these mistakes, this bad weather. A Jonah. In Jonah and the whale, Jonah was thrown overboard, and that led to a happy ending in the Bible. But a Jonah right now is one possible explanation for the all fall down effect in Washington, D.C. Larry Johnson of No Quarter joins me, and in a moment, Francis Rose of Federal News Radio will be here because I go through the list shortly, quickly. The Secret Service. Pearson is gone without a final meeting for the president. She's exited. VA, the Veterans Affairs, Shinseki was okay in the morning, going in the afternoon. IRS, Lois Lerner, we don't really know where she is, but she's no longer at the IRS. HHS, Sibelius, wandering the planet. CIA, Petraeus, to be restored, but he's no longer at the agency. State, Mrs. Clinton is still explaining some events about Libya and other parts of her service, but she is running for president. DOD, McChrystal, Petraeus, Gates, you get the point. DOJ, Holder's gone after questions, let's say, about his controversial term at Justice. Treasury, there was this person named Solyndra, and then there was this other group named GM. You follow. Congress, I don't need to get into that. All fall down. What is the Jonah? Who is the Jonah? Larry, a very good evening to you. I don't ask you to name Jonah. I just want to know if you share in my questions about Washington being snake bit, or is it the president, or is it the White House, or is it us? Good evening, Larry.
Good evening, John. No, actually, I think the Jonah in this case is named Barack. Barack Obama is a very unwelcome character if he gets out on the campaign trail. You've seen the I guess let's call it the schizophrenia of it. On the one hand, he will denounce Wall Street while holding a fundraiser up in New York at a Wall Street power broker's house, and all the neighbors on the street have to stay in their homes and can't get out because Barack Obama's there. And this continued piling up, this perception that he is not up to the job, that he's off playing golf, and that he doesn't know about any of these things that are happening. He learns about them from television or from watching the news or from reading about it in the newspaper, and is always sort of surprised at Fast and Furious, IRS, Benghazi, the list goes on. And it is piling up. It's like peeling off a piece of tape and putting it on the table, and then you put another piece and then another piece. Well, before long, you've got an inch of tape staring at you. And his efforts to manage optics strictly from a domestic standpoint have now backfired on him. And so, he's hung on, the ISIS is just the JV. Well, now we've got to declare war on the junior varsity because they're playing in the big leagues. And those kinds of things have finally captured even the mainstream media's derision. So I think Barack Obama himself is the Jonah. He's at sea, but in this case, he deserved to be thrown overboard.
Francis Rose of Federal News Radio In Depth with Francis Rose joins. Francis speaks to the federal workforce each day. They go to work, they go home, they work very hard, but there have been these series of headlines about the leaders of the federal workforce, especially the appointed leaders for the Obama administration, that suggests that there's something wrong or there's something that can be fixed. Larry Johnson's nominated Jonah. I won't ask Francis to nominate anybody. I will ask him about this latest episode, Pearson's sudden resignation from the Secret Service after revelations of breaches of security at the White House that are shocking to tell. Hollywood wouldn't have dared come up with incidents like a man roaming around inside the White House before he's tackled, or gunshots fired at the White House and no one was aware of it for some time. Francis, the question here is Pearson's exit at the Secret Service. Is this do you regard this, or do your informants regard this as a one-off, or is this part of this chain of failure of leadership in the Obama administration? Shinseki at Veterans Affairs, Sebelius at HHS, Petraeus at CIA. I could go down the list, but you take the point, Francis. Good evening to you.
Good evening, John, and good evening, Larry. The answer to your question, is it a one-off or is it a signal of a chain, is yes. The people that I'm talking to today are saying, listen, the Secret Service is screwed up, and it's been for a number of years, and we've seen scandal after scandal after scandal that involved the Secret Service. So yes, in and of itself, it's a problem organization, and it could be seen as a one-off, these two most recent episodes, the elevator situation in Atlanta, and then this deal at the White House that we were learning about the last several days. On the other hand, I am starting to hear a much louder drumbeat from even former administration officials, people who were on the president's transition team in 2008, 2009, saying, this isn't what we signed up for, this isn't what we thought we were going to get, and there doesn't appear to be much attention paid right now to management and making sure that the wheels of government turn effectively and efficiently.
Gentlemen, I offer you a choice. This is a menu, just ranging over presidential events over the last century. I'll go quickly because I'd like a choice of the level of disorder and discomfort about the Washington establishment right now, especially about Mr. Obama's leadership. There's Edith Bowling and Dr. Grayson when Wilson's stroke in the White House. I think we can eliminate that, but that was a very troubling period for presidential leadership. Then I'll go forward, post-war years. During the Nixon administration, there's the Saturday Night Massacre. Gerald Ford, there's Mr. Nixon's pardon. Jimmy Carter, there's Air Force One. Ronald Reagan, there's Oliver North and Iran-Contra. And then we come to Mr. Clinton. And under Mr. Clinton's administration, there were several moments, but early on, Lonnie Guinier, we can all remember the doubts about Mr. Clinton's master of the White House. And moving into the George Bush years, we had so many moments of doubt, certainly in the second term, because of Iraq. The nation would panic each time. There'd be a wobble. Is there anyone leading us? So, Larry and Francis, I ask you, not to say this is just like that, but what is the feel for you right now? Because clearly the war against ISIS is not going well. The gesture of bombing each day has not in any way inhibited the advance of the Takfiri jihadists. They're closing on Kobani right now. They're beheading Kurdish women in order to make the refugees flee across the border. Turkey's weighing in, trying to defend itself. We'd have to say that the war is not going well, Mr. President. Have you noticed? In addition, we have all the other disorder in the world. Libya, for example, has gone dark. Gentlemen, there's no electricity in Tripoli, the capital right now. Benghazi is racked by warlords. The heck with the investigation of 2012. Libya is a failed state on the Mediterranean. And by the way, in Hong Kong, hundreds of thousands of students are facing off the tyranny of Beijing, and what they want is democracy, which sounds like the theme when we came in 240 years ago. Larry, your choice. How wobbly is this? What does it feel like?
I think this is we're approaching unprecedented territory. This is the lack of direction, guidance, and chaos that is rampant right now in government is frightening, and both on the national security side as well as domestically. It is, the only thing I can point to that I've seen work effectively in the federal government is the global entry program coming back into the United States. That's where you can scan your passport, put your fingerprints in, and it prints out a card to get you in. Other than that, what I'm hearing from friends at DOD, what I'm hearing from friends at CIA, friends at State Department, the chaos, the apathy, and the fear is palpable.
Francis, I didn't use Ebola because it's too tragic, but do you have a frame for this when you think about how wobbly it feels each day? We have about 30 seconds, Francis.
I'll suggest a historic episode that you didn't in your list, John, and that is in the Eisenhower administration when he was having heart problems, I believe it was. And nobody was quite sure when when he was hospitalized, who was pulling the levers behind the curtain. It feels a lot like that from the people that I talked to who were around then.
Francis Rose of Federal News Radio, In Depth with Francis Rose each afternoon on your way home from working at the federal government. And who is the captain of this ship and who is the Jonah? Larry Johnson of No Quarter. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm John Batchelor.